So yeah, having a boyfriend is a bit embarrassing because men are embarrassing. So many people have messaged me to be like, my boyfriend is so special and unique and he's so not like other boyfriends and I'm not embarrassed.
But most men are just embarrassing. Like even as a man, like as a man, relatively speaking, doing the work, quote unquote, I don't want to be seen with these. Like I don't want to talk to them, to be honest with you. I don't talk to most of them.
Dating men is largely a humiliation ritual, given all of the shit they have done and continue to do to us.
There was this idea of there not being a solidarity with other women. There was this idea of like a relationship just by default being something that rendered you quite uncool.
Being in a relationship with a man for a woman is a humiliation ritual. That's what a lot of women are saying. That's what a lot of women have recognized. I don't like saying that that's what women are saying, as if to make it seem like they're pulling it out of nowhere. They're pulling it out of thin air. I think it's very important to recognize that it oftentimes is a humiliation ritual. I listen to so many men make content online, get into debates online, and they are in full blown marriages, right? And I did a video a couple weeks ago on a man who was driving in his car. Men in their cars are very problematic when they make videos and content. But anyways, it was a man driving in his car, and he was talking here. I'll play you what he said, just the first 30 seconds of what he said, and tell me how we can't understand how being in a relationship with men is a humiliation ritual.
So I had this conversation with my wife. Good points. I've learned a lot about the female mindset. It's not helpful. And I don't say that out of disrespect. I don't say it to be rude or mean. But when you are villainizing every man on the planet because of the patriarchy, like, let's be real. Hey, all men are in control.
If you are a woman that has any self-esteem, that anything like that, any knowledge about the way the world works, anything like that, and you come across your husband getting on the internet and saying that he had a conversation with you to learn about the way that women think and it was pointless, because that's a double slap in the face, right? Because it's a slap in the face to you as a wife, and it's a slap in the face to you as a woman. You see what I mean? That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Y'all could, if men, you don't understand, you don't get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. You won't get it. It is what it is. But that is very embarrassing. And there is countless amounts of men doing that on the daily. I won't even get into all the other ways in which men embarrass their women. Donald Trump embarrasses Melania. She don't even like him. You can see how they react to one another because that man has embarrassed her repeatedly. It's been long speculated that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton don't sleep together, and haven't probably in 30 or 40 years. Because why? Because he cheated on her repeatedly, because he raped a woman allegedly. But you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Oh, like just me. It is. You never see that the opposite way. Y'all be trying to make Aisha Curry out to be the biggest villain because she's like, yeah, I thought I was going to be like a movie star, and I am relegated to just being a mother and a wife, and I've lost my identity. And these men be like, oh, she's so embarrassing. She embarrasses the hell out of Steph. Whole time there are men coming out here openly talking about women don't need we need to repeal the 19th Amendment. And we need to get rid of women's voting rights. And these men are married to women. They got daughters. Like, it is a humiliation ritual. You cannot deny it. On its face, it is. So I completely understand women saying that about being in relationships with men. With that being said, this woman, she writes an article. So this woman's name is Shantae Joseph. She wrote this article in Vogue And the name of the article is really funny. It's called Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now? It should have always been embarrassing based on the nature of men, or not the nature of men, but you know what I'm saying, how men act and how men treat women. But yeah, so that's an article. It's very interesting. You guys go read it right now. I just read it. But what's more interesting is the reactions. The reactions that the article have elicited is funny to me.
So many people have messaged me to be like, my boyfriend is so special and unique, and he's so not like other boyfriends, and I'm not embarrassed. And I love my boyfriend. I love my man. Like, it's only embarrassing when, he doesn't buy you flowers every day. I'm telling you, and I am telling you, it's embarrassing, period. It's embarrassing, period. Do you know how many women in loving relationships have messaged me to be like, hey, I love my man down. This is still embarrassing. It's still embarrassing. And I know it's not your fault. It's the men's fault. Collectively, the way men have behaved in romantic relationships it is nothing short of terrorism. It is nothing short of emotional terrorism. Every time you come on this app, is some woman giving us a 62-part story about how a man was Prince Charming and then was the devil incarnate. Right?
Literally just got done doing a video on a woman who said that she accidentally found her husband, not her boyfriend, even her husband, cheating on her, went through the whole thing. And then in the end, from that, like a chain of events led to him getting a 10-year prison sentence. So you guys go, if you haven't watched it yet, go check the video out. But yeah, exactly what she's saying. She never thought, she said, I never checked phones. He never gave me any reason to. She said that he would give her his phone, and he was never like hovering around. He was never scared, like, all the stuff. And she just randomly called him one day. Just that's how it happened. So yeah, very true.
And this is just what we've normalized in dating. And we kind of go into dating being like, whoo, I wonder what breed of terror this person is going to reign on my life today. And from when that is your approach to dating, or for when that is the attitude around dating in the get-go, it just feels like being with a man is an incredibly volatile thing. You just don't know what's going to happen next. And the people around you don't know what's going to happen next. People keep being like, oh, well, why? How come when a man is with a woman, it's not embarrassing, but when a woman is with a man, it's because the men are embarrassing. Being with a woman doesn't do anything apart from shield probably what makes him embarrassing to the rest of the world.
Women, exactly what she said. Like, think Beyonce and Jay-Z. Jay-Z is afforded a level of protection because he's with Beyonce. If Jay-Z was with like not Beyonce, pretty much like almost any other woman, the whole of the internet will be tearing him down. And a lot of women tear, Jay-Z down, and rightfully so. But a lot of women don't say much about Jay-Z simply because he's married to Beyonce, because they're like, I don't want, and this is no disrespect to those women, I get it, because they feel they must protect Beyonce. Like, they feel like it's more important to protect Beyonce than it is to tear down Jay-Z. So they'll give Jay-Z a ton of passes, and Jay-Z is a terrible human being historically. He has been one of the, and I've been not knowing him personally, but I'm saying, like, I grew up in the 90s, 80s, and 90s. I've known Jay-Z since Reasonable Doubt, since he was with Hawaiian Sophie or whatever. You know what I'm saying? What's his name? Jazzo. I've been seeing Jay-Z since then. Like, I've literally watched him every step of the way be like the worst, person. And the way that he views women, disgusting. All the music he made, Big Pimpin', Song Cry, all of that shit. I was gonna get right back. I was just fucking them other chicks. I was just gonna get right back. Like, Jay-Z is embarrassing. It is embarrassing to be in a relationship with Jay-Z, if not for his money and his fame. Those definitely excused a lot. But then when he got with Beyonce, you can't tell me that man don't got he got a security guard system around him of protection at this point, because they want to protect Beyonce, and they should. Because what the fuck has Beyonce done?
Guys, lock in. Obviously, I know embarrassment is such a light touch term. But what I'm really trying to get at is that where men are societally, where they are politically, education wise, how they behave, the attitudes that we've normalized, this cannot run anymore. And I know nobody wants to hear it. No one wants to hear that being with a man is embarrassing, especially when you're in a loving relationship. But I think it's just take stock of where we are at politically, right? The madness that men are doing, both on a broader societal level, but also on an interpersonal level. The heterosexual romantic fantasy is crumbling. It is crumbling before our very eyes. And are we going to clamor to try and put together the chaos? Or are we going to think about something new? Imagine a different one. Imagine a different way our relationships can exist so they don't feel so oppressive. I just think we have continually rewarded men for the abysmal way they treat women. And I just feel like it's getting to the point that it is unavoidable. It's uncomfortable now. So yeah, having a boyfriend is a bit embarrassing because men are embarrassing because what are they doing?
Yeah. Again, as a man, I fully concur that men are embarrassing. Like, yeah, men are embarrassing. Definitely. Even being friends with men. Like, think of what I'm saying. Even I have so many male friends, like men that I know that I grew up with, that when I talk about my relationships with men, like my friendships I've had with men, so many times women will be like, and you didn't cut them off, and you didn't do this, and you didn't do that. And I'm like, no, because if I did, I would literally have no more male friends. You know what I mean? Like, and some people will be like, so, but I'm like, that's easy for you to say. You know what I mean? Like, if I didn't make concessions for my male friends, I would have no male friends whatsoever. None. None. I mean, no, I'm talking about brother. I'm talking about I already cut my daddy off. I'm talking about cousins. I'm talking like if I didn't make concessions for men, left and right, the way that women make concessions for men to be in relationships with us, I wouldn't have any male friends, none whatsoever. And I feel like it is a bit victim blaming when people ask people like, "Oh, and you stay with him? Oh, and you still friends with him?" And it's like, yeah, yeah, but it's also embarrassing, and that's why I don't like openly like take pictures and photos with all my homies and like show y'all and stuff like that. Because if you knew them, you would be like, bro, like wow, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, they're not even most of them aren't, they ain't like done like they ain't like they're criminals or anything like that. You know what I mean? They haven't done anything to that. But just if you go to their pages and you see the stupid shit that they say and blah 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 blah, terrible. They are, and they are the average men. They're not the extreme versions of men. They're the average man. Mind you, I got some cool niggas too. I do got a handful of cool niggas, and those are the ones that I build community with, I would say. But I know a bunch of men. That's my point. It ain't like I'm close with all these dudes. But I'm saying, like, I know a shit ton of men, and I may run into them from time to time, or we may kick it from time to time, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. But most men are just embarrassing. Like even as a man, like as a man is, relatively speaking, doing the work, quote unquote. I don't want to be seen with these motherfuckers. Like I don't want to talk to them. To be honest with you, I don't talk to most of them. I had a video on my TikTok page where I was talking about like if you are a man, a male, and you know me, and you are wondering like if I like you, and you're like, oh, I wonder if P likes me now, just know that I don't. If I don't, I really don't like the vast majority of the men that I know. Like it now, like I'm like, yeah, you guys are fucking trash, bro. I want them to be better and all of that, but they're ass.
I am absolutely loving all of the discourse that's going on, particularly on TikTok, about this new British Vogue article by Shantae Joseph called Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now? She actually interviewed a lot of social media creators and influencers who have kind of, all veered towards this sort of reluctance to share their male partners on social media. And some of the reasons that they gave for this reluctance were actually really interesting. Some of them said they didn't want to be boastful. Others said that they didn't want to lose a bunch of followers because that often happens. If a creator posts that they're in a relationship, they'll often lose followers like en masse. And a lot of them just said that it was kind of cringe to make your content about your boyfriend or to feature your boyfriend in your content, because dating men is largely a humiliation ritual, given all of the shit they have done and continue to do to us, both on like macro political scales, them, taking our rights from us, and also like the domestic violence epidemic, but also on more micro and like individualized scales as well. In a recent video that Shantae Joseph posted about some of the response and some of the backlash, more specifically, that she's been getting all of these messages and all of these DMs from women, largely, who are in heterosexual relationships with men. And all of them have just been like, my boyfriend is so special and so unique. It's not embarrassing to have a boyfriend. And this response is so interesting and kind of laughable to me for two main reasons. And it's the fact that these people are proving the point and missing the point all at the same time. Kind of reminds me of a few months ago when Chapel Roan said on the Call Her Daddy podcast, I believe it was, that she personally does not know any parents who are happy. All the parents got into an absolute uproar on social media because they were like, how dare you? I'm a happy parent and my child is the light of my life. Like immediately taking it personally and making it all about them, which we often have the tendency to do. And I largely can't help but think that when people get so outraged by statements like that, it's because there's a kernel of truth in there that.
Yeah, Black people say that's a hit dog hollering. Just so you know, we talk about that all the time. If it doesn't apply, let it fly, right? This is a prime example of people not being able to do that because they are the hit dog. That's really obviously that's what it is. I don't give a fuck if somebody says something and like if it needs to be addressed, I will address it. Like if it's harmful, not harmful to me, if it's harmful to the collective, I address it. But if it's just harmful to me, I don't give a fuck.
Does actually apply to them. Because whether we're talking about being a parent or being in a relationship with a man, and whether that's embarrassing or not, if that didn't apply to you from your standpoint, then surely you would just not engage. You would just kind of roll like water off a duck's back. But because you are getting outraged, it kind of seems like there is something about what Shantae Joseph is writing that rings true for you. It strikes a chord. So by getting defensive, you're kind of just inadvertently perpetuating the point that the author is trying to make in the article. And the other half of this reaction that I find so interesting is the fact that they're just completely missing the point. Although the article is labeled as an op-ed in British Vogue, it's actually much deeper than that. It's more of a sociological analysis. And there's a creator on here, I believe Tana is her name. I will tag her below because she actually did a really good video kind of summarizing the sociological and anthropological elements. But the crux of what Shantae Joseph is really trying to get at in this piece is that discussions like this are actually really critical when it comes to dissecting and questioning heteronormativity. Those conversations are particularly beneficial and important to women, both single women and coupled women. As having a boyfriend becomes embarrassing, being single as a woman doesn't look so bad or so scary, nor should it. And this line of questioning is also extremely important for women in heterosexual relationships because it's a very, very much needed reminder that no man and no boyfriend should be the center of your life. Because all you're doing when you're centering a man is feeding into what Shantae Joseph describes perfectly as a centuries-old heterosexual fairy tale that never really benefited women.
I want to say a few things. I understand why people defend the idea that being in relationships with men isn't embarrassing. Like I understand that. I'm saying women specifically. I understand that. The reason why they do that, there's a couple reasons. It's because they are lying to themselves, right? So it's not about you necessarily, the person that says the thing. It's about the thing challenging their worldview and disrupting it. Because essentially, the way that propaganda works is it never stops and it can never be disrupted. Once the propaganda is disrupted, the whole charade falls and crumbles, right? And women like her and women like Shantae and every other woman who challenges these norms are disrupting the conveyor belt of propaganda. They're breaking it up. And those people reflexively want to put everything back in its place so that they can feel better about themselves again. So they can go back on autopilot essentially. So that's why they end up defending it, in my estimation. That's when the women, I should say, that's why women defend it. When men defend these things, when they go, oh, I'm a good man, obviously they're just doing that for themselves because they're abusive and they don't want to, they don't want to grow and they don't want to learn. We know that. But women are doing it for a whole different set of reasons.
For British Vogue, I wrote, this piece is having a boyfriend embarrassing now. I know people have reading the headline, they're like, nah, nah, nah. But listen, for this piece, I interviewed a bunch of women. I spoke to them about why they hide their partners on social media, or they like post very inconspicuously about them. Some people said it was about privacy and this sort of unique, special privacy that you only afford your romantic partner. A lot of people spoke about the evil eye and this idea that, oh, if I post my partner, then people who are jealous of me will somehow, through their terrible vibes, ruin my relationship. Some people said that they felt as if they were scared to post because what happens when someone comes to them as a woman, or what happens when they break up and they have to, delete all the posts. And there's this whole feeling of like shame of having tried and failed to find love. And then there was a really interesting point that came across both people in relationships and single people. And this idea that like being in a relationship with a man and showcasing it to the world in and of itself was an embarrassing thing to do. And that's what I really wanted to get into. There was this idea of there not being a solidarity with other women. There was this idea of like a relationship just by default being something that rendered you quite uncool. I spoke about this podcast I came across where they were talking about, is it lame to have a boyfriend? And they
make being in relationships with me uncool. I'm just playing. That I know me. Look, man, we made our bed. We gotta lay in it. I think that's my thing. I know I come across like as odd to a lot of people because like none of this stuff bothers me in the way that people think that it would. It bothers me because of the way that women are affected by it. But it doesn't bother me as a man for women to call men out. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't bother me in that way. And so when I listen to stuff like this, I can completely empathize with women. And I'm like, no, I totally understand what you're saying. Like I get it because I see the way that men act and I hear the way that men talk. And so I have to accept our verdict. I have to accept the reaction that men are invoking by our actions. You know what I mean? Like I totally understand it. So I'm not gonna be the man to be like, oh, get it, man. Not every man. Like I'm not gonna try to do I'm not gonna be a speed bump whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna like flag you, like, yes, keep going. Yeah, absolutely. Because I know that this doesn't hurt good men. I know that women being embarrassed to be in relationships with men doesn't hurt good men. So before the men said, but what about the good men? This won't hurt the good men. The good men having it their way. They still winning. They're still happy and healthy and in relationships and living their best life. The only people that this will affect negatively are the bad men. So I want women to be protected above all. Like I want their protection is top priority, right? Protection of women and children, top priority. That's number one. So none of this negatively impacts me. None of it does. It doesn't weigh on me. It doesn't mess with my psyche. Doesn't mess with my ego. It's completely separate in my mind. Completely separate. Also because I know none of this is absolute. So I have the ability to be the best version of myself. And that's all I can control. That's it. And if more men adopted that, I think that we can grow because everything that these women are talking about, these are the things that mainly men need to hear, to be honest with you. Like women don't necessarily need to hear this stuff, right? I think it's cool for them to hear it. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is like, it can help. It helps women too. But I'm saying, I really want men to sit with this. We need to sit with this. If you find yourself being negatively impacted by this or affected by this, you may want to double check and make sure that you aren't the very men that they're talking about.
There was this idea of like a relationship just by default being something that rendered you quite uncool. I spoke about this podcast I came across where they were talking about, is it lame to have a boyfriend? And they say, when I meet a girl and she has a boyfriend, I automatically just kind of put her in a box or in a category, and I just don't feel as inspired or engaged by her. And then when someone doesn't, I feel like they have so much life and prospect, and they are just entertaining and fun, and I kind of feel empowered by their individualism. But interestingly, the girls talking about this on the podcast, agreeing with this idea that like girls without boyfriends are cool, are also in relationships themselves. And so I was thinking so much about how it is very uncool to be a boyfriend girl. It is very uncool to be a my man person. And I spoke to both just people who are on social, but also content creators and influencers about what happens when they post their partners, right? A lot of them lose a lot of followers, especially if they were already single. And this idea that now you are someone's girlfriend and you're posting about this, it's something that people automatically disengage from. I do it too. If I follow someone because they, I don't know, post their outfits and all of a sudden it's their boyfriend every day, I'm just like mute. I came here for a reason. But this is happening like across the board. And like just culturally, I think a lot of like the days of a man being a prize has really changed. It's really, really, really changed. And obviously this has come from like just the empowerment of single women in general, but also just how the trajectory of men and women are going in completely opposite directions. And now we're having to look at heterosexuality with the political lens that we've looked at other sexualities. And we really have to evaluate, if we are a part of this thing, what does it mean? And so it's a really interesting piece. I think people should go and read it and should go and check it out. And I've also found the backlash to it. You know, I think a lot of women in relationships will say, well, you know, I hate all men apart from my man. He is a feminist and he is a this and he is a that, and I shouldn't feel embarrassed and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, I think we have to be honest with ourselves. If people want to scream like men are trash, I hate all men, men are trash, I hate all men, and then you shack up with a man and you're like, but not my man though, and someone says that's embarrassing, this is the culture that we've created and we fostered, right? And so I think a lot of people want to have their pie and eat it too. When there's nothing wrong with that, but I just think as we become a lot more critical of heterosexuality, I just think you can't sit comfortably in that anymore, which I personally think is a good thing, because it means that we are like deepening heterosexuality. We're thinking so much more critically about what it is we're engaging in, and we're being conscious about our choices, which I think is important. But yeah, go and read the piece. Sorry to drone on.
I totally agree. And I think that's really the most interesting part, breaking up the heterosexual norms. And it's like, you know, being a heterosexual man in a heterosexual relationship, for basically the way that I'm interpreting this, and you guys can let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, is women don't like, to me, it's like women who are in relationships shouldn't really care about the social cachet that comes with or came with being in a relationship with a man. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you can just keep it separate, you know, because I think they're two separate things. I truly do. I think this is something that can be compartmentalized. You know, you don't have to hate men to be a feminist. Feminism isn't the hatred of men. You know what I mean? Like, you can hate maleness and not hate men. Like, I can hate whiteness and not hate white people. It's not, you know, you're not talking about the individuals, you're talking about the ideologies. And that I'm perfectly okay with. And I think that it's fine for women to embrace it. I think it's healthy for women to embrace it. You don't need to get anything out of, I'm talking about outside of interpersonally, you don't need to get anything out of your relationship. A relationship should only benefit you interpersonally, in my mind. You know, it shouldn't, like, because why does it have anything to do with you? That I'm a man, and this lastly, I want to end on this, because as a man, I can post my wife, and when I talk about being married, oh, you married? Damn, like, I get shown a very high level of respect just for being married. Especially, oh, I've been married for 14 years. I've been with my wife for 18 years. You know what I mean? People are like, oh, shoot, right? They love it. But women don't, you know, I mean, not women, but it shouldn't benefit me outside of my own relationship, outside of my own marriage. Marriage shouldn't benefit me, I don't feel like. You know, I shouldn't be perceived as a better human being because I have a wife and a kid, because John Wayne Gacy had a wife and kids. You know, Richard, whatever his name is, Richard Rader or whatever, BTK. He had, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many men that had wife and kid. Who cares? That does nothing. That is not a crutch. It's not a mask, and it damn sure shouldn't be a flex at all.